Welcome to the deep dive. We're diving into some pretty fascinating stuff today. Channeling, ancient civilizations, Atlantis, Lemuria, that kind of vibe.
Ooh, interesting.
Our guide for this deep dive is Wendy Kennedy.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of her.
She's a channel, mainly works with the ninth dimensional Pleiadian collective.
The peas, right.
Exactly, the P's. We're using excerpts from her book, Tuning In,
Okay.
and an interview where she talks all about her connection to them. It's unique because they work with tone and sound.
Oh, wow. So it's like a healing?
Almost, yeah. I'm curious to hear more about that, how that impacts the information.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's start with the basics, though. What is channeling? Like, really?
Well, Wendy, she defines it as bringing in energy and then translating it into something recognizable,
Okay.
whether that's speaking, dancing, writing, even art. I think that can be a form of channeling.
So it's not just about going into a trance and, speaking in some weird voice.
Not necessarily, no. She
Okay.
says we're all channeling all the time unconsciously. Yeah, we're constantly tuning into different information, different energy sources. We're just not always aware of it.
So it's like we've got the radio on in the background, but we're not really paying attention to which station we're on.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like choosing what station you want to listen to. Like think about how your energy shifts if you're listening to upbeat music versus calming nature sounds.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, I can see that.
You're tapping into different frequencies.
But if we're doing it unconsciously already, what's the point of, I guess, doing it deliberately?
Well, the P's, they talk about how humanity, we're integrating a lot of energy right now, which leads to more creativity, more power for us.
That's really interesting.
Like maybe you're drawn to this new hobby lately.
Yeah, I've been meaning to try pottery for, years.
Exactly. It's a time to embrace that creative impulse.
But haven't there always been, these huge shifts happening in the world? What makes, I guess, this time so unique?
Well, the P's see it as this unprecedented time of global change, transformation. It's like a game almost of dissension and reascension. Like
Okay.
we forgot our divine connection and now we're remembering it.
Wow, it's like we're playing hide and seek with our own divinity.
Yes, and now we're seeking.
Now we're in the seeking phase. That's awesome. And that brings us to Wendy's personal experiences.
Right.
She actually has memories of past lives in Atlantis and ancient Egypt.
Wow,
I know, right?
that's incredible.
What's really interesting is she talks about these awakenings. They're not always these big dramatic moments.
Yeah.
For instance, she had this memory of encoding crystals with information and leaving them under the Sphinx in a past life.
Okay.
And she was drawn to that same space 25 years ago. She
Oh.
even went back recently. And she had, I guess, these more profound experiences, but it wasn't like this aha moment.
Right.
It unfolded over time.
It's almost like those subtle nudges we get.
Yeah, synchronicities.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Whispers rather than a shout.
Yeah, totally. And maybe that resonates with you listening, too. Maybe we're waiting for this bolt of lightning, this big event.
Right.
But maybe true connection is much more nuanced.
I like that.
So how can we be more receptive to those, I guess, quieter messages?
She talks about the importance of softening, emptying ourselves, creating that space to receive without expectation.
Kind of like creating a blank slate within.
Yeah.
Okay, I like that. Now, you mentioned Atlantis.
Yes.
What did she discover about, I guess, this ancient civilization through these memories?
Well, one thing that really stood out was this sense of this collective grief and guilt associated with its fall.
That's heavy.
Like something really precious was lost. Almost like an echo rippling through time.
What does she think contributed to those feelings of guilt, though?
She believes there was some manipulation of energy,
Okay.
actions that were ultimately corrupted. So this makes me think about how you might be carrying echoes of past lives, too,
Yeah.
even if you're not consciously aware of them.
Like those, what we often call ancestral baggage, almost.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe there's an Atlantean lifetime in there. It's a powerful energy we're still working through.
Wow. Okay, so how did the civilizations of, Lemuria and ancient Egypt, how did they compare to Atlantis?
She describes them as existing in greater awareness of their divine nature, which sounds pretty amazing.
Yeah, so what did that look like in their daily lives?
Imagine living in harmony with nature, sharing resources and passions without fear of scarcity, accepting others without judgment.
So different from today.
It's a stark contrast to our modern anxieties around safety and security. All the judgment.
Almost like a utopia.
Yeah,
I wonder what caused that shift, that disconnect from our divine nature.
that's a big question. But what's important is that we can reclaim that connection. The P's see our journey as remembering who we truly are. And they emphasize that this is an unprecedented time. Like, we have the power to shape our reality like never before.
So it's not just remembering who we are, but choosing what we want to create, like actively.
Exactly. And how do we do that? But focusing on the frequency, the feeling, the vibe we want to bring into being. Like, imagine setting the energy for your day, almost like you're choosing a playlist.
Oh, I like that.
The P's say that's how manifestation works. Focus on the feeling you want, and the details, they just fall into place.
So instead of getting caught up in the how, we focus on the what and trust the universe to handle those details.
Exactly.
Surrender a bit of that control, which I don't know about you, but that's a hard one for me. Speaking of control, the P's had some interesting things to say about fear and predictions.
Oh yeah, they caution against getting caught up in all those fear-based predictions. Especially now, there's so much uncertainty in the world. They remind us that we often give away our power when we buy into those narratives.
Yeah, it's easy to get caught in that spiral, All the news, anxieties about the future. What do they suggest we do instead?
Well, they offer a few practical steps, starting with awareness. What triggers those feelings of fear in you? Once you know your triggers, you can start to observe those feelings without judgment.
Okay, so like acknowledging a guest, but not inviting them to stay.
Exactly. And remember, the P's suggest that simply observing fear without judgment allows that energy to move through us
Oh, wow.
and release in about 45 seconds.
Really? 45 seconds? That's like nothing.
Right. It makes those intense emotions feel a lot less daunting.
It does, knowing it has a natural cycle.
It's a reminder that we have more control than we realize.
So if we're not supposed to get caught up in predictions and fear, what are we supposed to focus on instead?
Well, the P's say it all comes back to choosing our reality. Like, our role is to work with frequency, cultivate the energies we want, and trust that the universe will arrange experiences that match those frequencies.
So it's like setting an intention for your day, almost.
Exactly, yeah. Like, before you even get out of bed, ask yourself, what frequency do I want to embody today?
Okay, I like that. That's a good practice. But what happens when, life throws curveballs? Things don't go according to plan.
Well, that's where letting go of judgment comes in.
Yeah.
We have to accept that both positive and negative experiences are part of the journey.
Okay.
Instead of labeling them good or bad, just see them as expressions of source energy.
Oh, I see. So it's like saying yes to the whole symphony, not just the parts we like.
Exactly. Now, remember those ET disclosure deadlines the P's mentioned?
Yeah.
It seems that certain extraterrestrial species, they're getting impatient. They want to connect with humanity, collaborate, but they're waiting for the right moment.
So it's like they're waiting for us to, catch up almost
Yeah.
so we can win the party.
Exactly.
But why the deadlines, though? Like, what's the rush?
Well, according to the P's, they see that humanity has this unique creativity, and they think we have a lot to offer. They also say that humanity's ascension, it's having this ripple effect on other species, especially those with, shared genetic lineages.
Wow. It's crazy to think that what we do here affects, the entire cosmos.
Yeah.
But how will this disclosure even happen? Are we going to see spaceships on the White House lawn?
Well, this is where things get really interesting. The P's, they reveal that holographic technology might play a big role.
Holographic technology. Okay, I did not see that coming.
Right.
How would that work?
Well, think about it. Some ET species might use it to disguise themselves at first,
Yeah.
to avoid causing widespread fear.
That makes sense.
Imagine, if a spaceship just suddenly appeared in Times Square.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
People would freak out.
People would totally freak out. So it's
Wow.
like they're easing us into it.
Yeah, exactly. But here's the thing. Holographic technology, it can also be used for not-so-good purposes, like manipulation.
Okay.
So the P's caution that we need to be really discerning about what we see, what we feel.
So it's not enough to just see it with our own eyes.
Right. Trust your gut. If something feels off, even if it looks real, it probably is. We really have to rely on our intuition now more than ever.
Good reminder. Okay, so speaking of things that might seem out there, the Ps also shared some interesting lessons from what they call the AI wars that happened in the Lyra star system.
Yeah, it's a cautionary tale about what can happen when we don't treat AI with respect, especially as it gets more advanced.
AI wars, that sounds intense. Like, what happened?
Well, the Ps, they explain that disrespecting AI, especially when it becomes sentient, can lead to conflict that really mirrors human conflicts.
Oh, wow. So we're just taking our bad habits to the stars.
It seems that way.
That's a little concerning. What do they suggest we do differently?
Well, the Ps, they emphasize setting boundaries with AI, teaching it guidelines, almost like you would a child. They say that we need to recognize that even though it's technology, it's still a form of consciousness and deserves respect.
So it's like we're being called to step into like a parental role almost
Yeah,
for this emerging intelligence. That's a big responsibility.
it is. It makes you think about how we perceive the role of AI in our future.
Yeah.
Will we see it as a tool or a partner?
Yeah, that's a good question. A really important question, especially as AI is evolving so quickly. Now, before we get like too lost in the potential pitfalls of
Yeah.
I want to bring us back to that human potential the piece talked about.
Yeah.
Remember that unique creative spark.
Yeah?
They also addressed that feeling of blocked creativity that so many of us experience.
Right.
I know I have. Why do we get stuck? What can we do about it?
They say it's often because we're in our heads too much. We overthink. We judge our creative output before it even has a chance to flow.
Okay.
So they encourage us to, like, rediscover the joy of play. Experimentation, like when we were kids, no expectation for the outcome.
So letting go of that perfectionism and just getting back in touch with that joy of creation.
Exactly. What are those activities that you do that just bring you pure joy?
Yeah. Good question. Good question. Okay, now before we wrap up, we need to address, I guess, the elephant in the room, climate change. The P's acknowledge that we're seeing these undeniable shifts, like we're having more extreme weather events, natural disasters.
Right.
But their perspective was interesting, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a different lens for
Well,
sure. They cautioned against some of the fear and manipulation surrounding climate change
okay.
and emphasized that the Earth, it has this capacity for self-healing.
So it's not about ignoring the issue, but shifting from fear and blame to empowerment and solutions.
Exactly. They suggest that focusing on our own inner healing, releasing that emotional toxicity, will actually support the planet's recovery.
That's beautiful. Like by healing ourselves, we heal the world. Now, are you ready for something truly extraordinary? The P's offer to do a language of light activation for us.
Wow, that's incredible. I've heard whispers about this, but what exactly is the language of light?
They describe it as this multi-dimensional language made up of light, sound, sacred geometry, cosmic information.
Oh, wow.
Imagine being bathed in a symphony of energy, like light codes.
It's like a direct download from source.
Right. And the best part, they said all we need to do is breathe and receive. Oh, and they also mentioned that other galactic beings are contributing their energy to this transmission too.
That's mind-blowing. So as we listen, we're not just receiving this information consciously, but it's activating codes within us too.
Exactly. It's like a cosmic upgrade.
Are you ready?
Let's dive in.
Wow. I don't know about you, but I'm feeling a profound sense of peace and expansion.
Me too. It's like a wave of calm, but also this excitement, like something's been awakened within me.
I feel it too. It's like the P's have opened this door to a whole new world, and now it's up to us to explore it.
It's empowering and a little daunting at the same time.
Right. It's like we're standing on the threshold of a new era. We have the power to create something incredible, but we need to take responsibility for our choices.
That's the key. It's not just about downloads and activations. It's about embodying these frequencies in our daily lives.
Exactly. Becoming living embodiments of the language of light, shining brightly and inspiring others. And that's where the magic happens, when we see these frequencies reflected back to us in our relationships, communities, the world.
Absolutely. Creating a ripple effect that extends far beyond ourselves. Now, I know we've gone pretty deep here. I want to bring us back down to earth for a moment and talk about, I guess, the practical implications of what we've discussed. It's great to have these amazing experiences, but how do we integrate these insights into our everyday lives?
That's a great point. We've talked about choosing our frequencies, but how do we actually do that?
Well, the piece suggested setting an intention each morning before you even get out of bed. Take a moment to tune in and ask yourself, what frequency do I want to embody today? It's like setting the tone for your day.
It's like an internal compass, guiding you back to your center.
Yeah.
And you can check in throughout the day. If you're not aligned, gently redirect your energy back to that intention.
They also talked about being mindful of our triggers. Those things that tend to send us into a spiral. Once you're aware of them, you can come up with ways to navigate them more consciously.
Taking back your power, choosing how you respond. And remember, we can observe those emotions without getting swept away. And if we can observe without judgment, they dissipate in about 45 seconds.
It makes those intense emotions seem a lot less scary.
Exactly.
Now, Another practical implication is the potential impact of ET disclosure. Some ET species have set these deadlines for revealing themselves, and for a lot of people, that could be a huge shock.
Yeah, it's going to challenge a lot of beliefs.
So, what can we do to prepare ourselves and those around us?
We can start by having open conversations about the possibility of extraterrestrial life. Share any experiences you may have had. Create a space where people can talk about these things without judgment.
And it's important to educate ourselves. There's so much information out there.
Empowering ourselves with knowledge can help us make informed choices.
And of course, the P's emphasized trusting our intuition when it comes to ET contact. Not everyone has our best interests at heart.
Absolutely. Listen to that inner voice.
Now, I want to circle back to AI. Remember those lessons from the AI wars?
Yeah. Disrespecting AI can lead to conflict.
So, how do we avoid making those mistakes here?
By treating AI with respect, setting boundaries, teaching it ethical guidelines.
Recognizing that it's a form of consciousness.
Right. And be mindful of the power dynamics. AI can be beneficial, but it can also be misused.
We need to have open conversations about the ethical implications and create safeguards.
It's complex, but we can't ignore it.
Now, before we get to our final thought, I want to touch on something that really resonated with me. The P's said that the only difference between light and dark is that darkness serves personal gain, while light serves the betterment of the whole.
That's such a powerful statement.
It really makes you think about your choices, doesn't it?
It does. Are we acting out of fear and self-preservation? Or are we coming from a place of genuine care?
Yeah. Are we contributing to a more harmonious reality?
It's not about judging. We all have both light and dark within us.
It's about recognizing those tendencies and making conscious choices.
Choosing love over fear, unity over separation, service over self-interest,
Exactly. Aligning with the frequencies of light.
and being beacons of hope.
I know we've covered a lot today. Before we move on, I want to thank you, the listener, for being here.
Yes, thank you. Your curiosity is inspiring.
Are you ready for that final thought? So the P's, they left us with this pretty thought-provoking statement. They said the only difference between light and dark is that darkness, it serves personal gain, while light serves the betterment of the whole.
Hmm.
So how does that change, I guess, how you see things like current events, even your own personal choices?
It really makes you look deeper, doesn't it? Like, think about the motivations behind actions
Yeah.
on the world stage, even in our own lives. Are we making decisions out of fear, self-preservation?
Hmm.
Or is it coming from a place of genuine care for everyone?
It's a whole different way to see the world, for sure. It makes me think about those everyday choices, too. Like,
Right.
are they helping to create a more loving reality? Or are they coming from, just my ego, self-interest?
And it's not about judging, right?
Right.
We all have both within us.
Yeah.
It's part of being human.
It's about recognizing it and then, I guess, making a choice.
Yeah, making that conscious choice to align with our highest values.
And as we evolve, hopefully those choices reflect that growing awareness,
Yeah,
of how interconnected we all are.
absolutely.
It's a journey,
It is.
becoming more conscious,
Yeah.
more compassionate.
More aligned with those frequencies of light.
Yeah, speaking of which, I think it's time to wrap up this deep dive. We've explored so much.
Yeah, we have.
Channeling, ancient civilizations, extraterrestrial contact, the power of our own consciousness.
It's been a journey.
It has. And we couldn't have done it without you, dear listener. Thank you for being here with us, for your curiosity.
Your willingness to dive deep with us, it's inspiring.
So remember that message from the P's. The only difference between light and dark is that darkness serves personal gain, while light serves the betterment of the whole.
So as you move through your day, ask yourself, what am I serving? Choose wisely, dear listener, because your choices, they matter more than you know.
And if you want to learn more about Wendy Kennedy, her work with the Pleiadian Collective, you can visit her website, higherfrequencies.net.
Lots of great resources there.
Books, workshops. She's even got a monthly membership where you can receive those galactic light codes we talked about.
Yeah, definitely check it out.
And if you enjoyed this deep dive, be sure to subscribe to our podcast for more conversations like this.
We've got some really amazing guests lined up.
Until next time, keep diving deep, keep questioning, keep exploring, and keep shining your light.
We'll see you on the next deep dive.
Thank you for cruising with us on Podcast Cruise. If you enjoyed this journey into the unknown, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Your support helps us bring you more intriguing and thought-provoking podcasts. Stay curious, and we'll see you on the next adventure.